Have you ever dreamed so hard that the next day you thought your dream was reality? If yes, what was your dream? I dreamed my dog was at my brother's house, being neglected by my brother and harassed by his little kids. I woke up angry, pissed that I was going to have to drive in the rain to get my dog and bring him home. For probably a full minute I just lay in bed, absolutely fuming. Then I remembered that my dog had died almost 10 years ago. It was like being punched in the gut. Not only was I sad about my dog, but I was also really disturbed and disoriented. It felt like my brain had malfunctioned. The feeling of being disconnected from my mind. It was a scary thing. My fiance died a week ago at age 33. Every night I dream he's alive. And every morning I look for him and have to remember he is gone and not coming home. Sometimes multiple times a day because my sleep is erratic. It was the same for the weeks of his hospitalization. I don't know if I want the dreams to end or not. Edit. Thank you all for the kind words and support. I once broke the news to my family that our next door neighbor had died. A couple of days later I had to explain that I was mistaken and that she is alive and well. Yes, I was studying Rhapsody in Blue at the time. And there's this tricky repeated note passage near the end that I just couldn't get. One night I dreamed that I absolutely nailed it. Next day, I thought it was something that actually happened. Went around cocky and not practicing until sometime around noon when I realized that it was a dream and I was an idiot. I had a dream that I fell off of a cliff and was heading for solid ground. I had heard that you usually wake up right before you hit the ground. But not me. I hit the ground and everything went black. I remember my eyes were closed shut, and I kept asking myself, am I dead? I woke up in my bed and thought I was a ghost who didn't move on into the afterlife, and that I was stuck in purgatory or something. Needless to say, my mom was weirded out when I asked her if I was dead with a dead serious face. I still remember that years later. I've had dreams where the places I go feel so familiar. I wake up and wonder if they may actually exist. Keep dreaming about meeting up with different friends and family to hang out, and then we end up shopping in a store. Same specific store. Same setup and merch. Different dreams throughout the years though. Never been to a store like that in real life though. The one where you get up, sit on the bed for 5 minutes dreading that you have to get up and then reluctantly get ready and go to whatever you needed to go, only to realize that you actually press snooze on your alarm instead of getting up and that you're still sleeping. Getting up twice sucks. Yeah, it happens a surprising amount. My brain likes to take information and predictions on how my day will go that I made the previous day and use it in dreams. Probably the most recent and memorable ones is when I had dreamed about starting one of my major yearly projects, only to realize halfway through my day that I had dreamed about it and had yet to start. It isn't a particularly fun phenomenon, as it confuses me more often than not. I can distinguish the realistic ones that are implausible, like ones that involve action movie-like scenarios, almost immediately upon waking, but the subtle it mixes with the other things I can recall about that specific scenario, and is harder to distinguish because it's usually a small thing that's entirely plausible. Talking to my mom. Took a few sad minutes to remember she's dead. I had a dream my mom called me to tell me my childhood neighbor died. I didn't realize it was a dream until 6 months later when I was home for the holidays and saw her alive. I thought I had a GF. I woke up sad. Last night I had a very vivid dream that I was happily married to the love of my life. This morning I woke up and after a minute of confusion felt extraordinarily lonely. Now that I think about it, this exact thing has happened several times in the past several years. Surprised no one else has mentioned this. I haven't had a cigarette in 19 years. Numerous times I've dreamt that I had one and it led to weeks, in the dream, of being a smoker again. I've woken up bummed out about it but with a reluctant acceptance about it. Like, well, I'm back at it. Might as well be back at it attitude that is hard to shake. I thought a purple spider was waiting outside my hall and would eat me if I left my room when I was 8. I had a dream I had a baby boy. It wasn't a super long dream but it was so vivid and felt so real. Then I half woke up and frantically looked for him for longer than I care to admit before I realized I don't have kids. It was a weird crushing feeling. I'm not sure how to describe it, but I was definitely bummed that my son was gone. I'm still hoping my life so far is a nightmare I'm having as a child. My grandma, who had been dead for years at this point, shows up in my dreams at her house. I even told her, "You're dead," but she insisted she was not. Upon waking, it was a long moment of rational thinking to remember she was gone. I had a dream that the space shuttle blew up in one of the most vivid dreams I have ever had. 2 days before it happened. That made me question some things, but was probably just a stupid coincidence. The dream was so vivid that I jumped out of bed as soon as I woke up and typed out the dream and sent it to some friends on ICQ. 2 days later I woke up to phone calls and a whole crapload of new messages on ICQ and Ike. I eventually picked up the phone and was told to turn on CNN. I will never forget how vivid that dream was. I was watching a space shuttle launch on TV, which was for some reason being held in Central Park in NY, along with my family. This is when I remember the dream starting to get lucid. I looked closer at the TV and it looked more and more sharp and vivid, and I ended up being pulled right into the TV. At that point, being aware that I'm dreaming, I remember sort of looking over Central Park from a great height, the same vantage point that I saw on TV. I slowly descended and ended up on top of a skyscraper just south of Central Park. It was some sort of a residential tower that doesn't actually exist. In my dream it was very tall. I remember feeling the breeze of the wind on my skin and the sunshine on my face. As I stood on the roof of that building, in the distance I could see the space shuttle being set to launch right from Central Park. I was lucid, so I knew that this made no sense. But there it was. It was so vivid. Felt so real. If over-exaggerated in the way everything appeared. Super tall skyscrapers. An oversized space shuttle. The perfect amount of sun shining on everything. Producing an epic scene right in front of me. I remember being up on that skyscraper with a bunch of people cheering and watching the launch. There was a countdown and the space shuttle slowly took off, but immediately had problems. As if for whatever reason started moving off to the left. Eventually there was some sort of explosion, and the space shuttle flew right into one of the skyscrapers. The skyscraper started falling, and the whole scene basically changed to a dark, gloomy sky. As this was all happening, the last thing I remember is our building being hit by another one. Fire and smoke. And I woke up, jumped out of bed, ran to my computer, and typed out the most vivid dream I have ever had. 2 days later it was the 1st of February, 2003, and Space Shuttle Columbia disintegrated on re-entry as it was returning home. A completely different scenario than the one I saw in my dream. But I felt the tragedy in a strange way when it happened. That was a super weird dream, and I haven't really had any like that since, from what I can remember. Except for maybe some strange dreams I had when I was in New Orleans. I had a dream where I woke up late. So I woke up in my dream thinking I was late. And then I woke up in real life thinking I was super late. As a kid in the 90s, I dreamed that my neighbor had a rollerblade shop in her backyard and she said I could pick out any pair I wanted. The next morning I went out and popped my head over the fence and it was just a stupid normal backyard. No rollerblades for me. I sometimes have super intense action dreams where a good friend and I are up against the world in some dire, overused Hollywood plot, conspiracy thrillers, taking down billionaires in covert missions, overthrowing a corrupt politician. It's all there. I know they're not real, but it makes me feel a little more empowered when I wake up to make the coffee. I dreamed that I emptied the vacuum cleaner. That's how exciting my dreams are. I had a dream of my phone breaking by accident, and then woke up and say, oh no, my phone broke. Right then, one of my flatmates asked me where, and as I look at the phone I stutter and say, I think it was dream. I also dream I'm at work. Like, lots of times. It's exhausting. I had a dream that I got robbed by people I knew and all I did was cry. Lol, I woke up thinking, why the duck did I cry? Lol, pussy. Used to dream about Christmas all the time as a kid. Woke up to look for presents. They were everything I didn't dare ask for because we were poor. Had a dream a few years ago that grandma died. Woke up crying and called her. Didn't get an answer because she was asleep. Started freaking out and asked mom if grandma was okay. Mom laughed at me. I got a call from grandma after she had woken up and saw that I tried to call her. She was perfectly fine. I once dreamed I had a son and I have to go get him from school, but I couldn't get there in time. When I woke up, I etched the number of his mother in my phone to let her know I couldn't get there in time. It took a minute before I realized I don't have a GF or a son. I was 17 at the time. Insanely simple for me. Everything was so realistic and lifelike except for one detail. I was able to glide for a few seconds, like built-in elytra into my body. One of the weirdest experiences for me as I woke up with genuine disappointment for losing this gift. Was pretty young when it happened but was crazy. I once had a dream there was Eggo waffles in the freezer. I was so excited to have some the next morning, only to find out I'd been lied to. I killed people in my dream and stuffed their phone in their mouth. When I woke up, I felt an intense sense of guilt and checked my room for bodies. After about a minute, I realized that was highly improbable. And yes, I'm a dumbass. Anybody else just not have dreams at all? I dreamt that my sister was dead. I was absolutely devastated and woke myself up crying. I was so disorientated for a minute or so. My grounding moment and back to reality was that I didn't remember going to the funeral, so she must be alive. Have you ever had a dream that you had, you could, you'll do, you once, you could do so, you'll do, you could you want them to do so much you could do anything? Every night I have hyper-realistic dreams. Sometimes it's me in a huge spaceship entering a new world to colonize it. Other times it's about ghosts crawling out of holes in the walls. Both I can tell when I wake up were dreams. But there are some. Sweet bees, are they annoying? They're just me at work. And I move some bottles to another shelf. When I go to work the following day, I go to the shelf to get them. No bottles. It was a dream. Or I'll have a conversation with someone and only when I reference it do I realize it was a dream. Every night I dream so vividly. I hate it 95% of the time because I always wake up feeling exhausted, either emotionally or mentally. I even asked my doctor once if there is medication to prevent me from dreaming. I remember dreams from years ago that pop into my head randomly like they're memories. I wish I could sleep and not dream. I dreamed that everything was fine with me and my now ex-GF. She never cheated and left me here in this godforsaken country. We were happy and everything was on track for our life plans. I hadn't felt so peaceful and hopeful in a very long time. Took me about 3 minutes to realize it was only a dream. It's a riposte, but, in short, I had what felt like a really long dream that I was living in Italy. Now, obviously it was just a dream and couldn't have happened because I was just an average American in my early 20s at the time living in the bumfuck countryside. But, it felt so real. I had a full-time job in my dream. Can't recall what job though, and even remember that I was invited to some party after a day of work. I had 2 pet dogs in my dream. One a chihuahua and one a mix that I can't recall. I was living alone but generally enjoying my life in Italy. Again, it was all just a dream, but it felt so frickin' weird waking up and realizing it wasn't all real. That I was still in my messy bedroom in my parents' home. I had a mild panic attack when I woke up utterly confused at what the heck happened. For a brief moment, I genuinely thought that I was actually in Italy and that me being in my parents' home was the actual dream. It's been years since then and I am nowhere near Italy or even have plans on going to Italy, but I still think about that dream at times. I had a dream my then boyfriend and I got pregnant, and eventually I gave birth to a beautiful baby boy. Woke up and searched the room for him before I realized it was a dream. Broke my heart. When I was 5/6, I had a dream that me, my parents and siblings were on our way home from a caravan holiday and one of our tires blew. We waited at a little chef's restaurant for someone to pick us up. A car service didn't pick us up. Lorry picked us up and put the car in the back of it and took us home. A couple years again I asked both my parents if they remembered and they didn't have a clue what I was on about. I have had dreams where I am at work and they seem so damn real. I actually had a work nightmare come true. I had this nightmare that I would not realize I was scheduled and not show up to work. I actually had that happen a couple years ago. I made it, and after my boss was like, hey, where the hell are you? I used to have these very vivid dreams about secret rooms in our family house since I was little. I haven't seen them in a while, but the same rooms existed many times in my dreams. Often after I had woken up, I would go and look for those rooms, but they had vanished. I even told my parents that we had a secret room that had an entrance in their bedroom closet, but when we went to look at it, nothing was there. They felt so real. Buying $1,000 of Bitcoin in 2010. I had a dream that went something like this. Me, at an elementary school reunion. C's best friend that I haven't seen in 3 years. Me, OMG, it's been so long. How's it been? We talk for a little about life. Me, I've actually had a lot of dreams about this moment. But finally it's not a dream. Then I wake up. Me, duck. I dreamt that I had forgotten to schedule a meeting for my boss. I ran into work early the next day and sent out a meeting invite to my boss and the clients concerned. My boss came into work and asked me what I was doing. I then explained he had asked me to set this meeting up yesterday and that he could send me the documents he needed printed. Midway through explaining this, I realized it was, in fact, a dream. He was not pleased. These always remind me of that guy that dreamt a whole lifetime with a wife and kids etc. and woke up with severe depression. Wisconsin had its first elk hunt 2 years ago. I've been hunting whitetails for 12 years. There's a very small lottery for elk tags. I applied, and that night I dreamt I was pulled and started preparing immediately. Woke up and spent a good 5 minutes researching on Google when I realized it wasn't real. Totally crushed. It happened to me when I was on cardiac medication. That caused sleeping issues, a side effect. I had super realistic dream about my ex-boyfriend cheating on me and bragging about it everywhere with his new girl. When I woke up, I was genuinely sad and almost had tears in my eyes. But after a minute I realized it was just a dream. Day after that I had a dream that I was stabbed to death by some creep I was running away from. Or another time I woke up waving hands around my head because I thought that wasps are attacking me. Dreams were so realistic. I was even little afraid of going to sleep. I had to put one of my cats to sleep last July, and I've had 2 dreams since where I woke up thinking I still had her. Funnily enough, the dreams usually had the theme of wow, she's so laid back and easy to take care of now. She was very skittish and picky in reality, but then I woke up and, yup, so easy to take care of because I literally don't have to anymore. I miss her a lot. I hope she's chilling somewhere and happy now. I dreamt of eating buffet of meats. I woke up with saliva coming out of my mouth like I can smell and taste the meats. I waited till lunch, got out to my favorite meat buffet restaurant just to find out it is closed BCS of quarantine despite of my government allows restaurants to open since they are necessity sector. I was pissed off the whole day. Duck that dream. I've had many. The most memorable one is one when my dog had recently passed away. In my dream I had woken up from my sleep to see my dog at the edge of my bed. It felt natural and calming. I let him up on my to sleep with me and I woke up with tears running down my face. I was so happy that I was able to see him. Even if it was just a dream. I'll always love you, Baba boy. Astral projection cough cough. My granddad died January 2020. Each week I dreamed that he was alive and well and actually believed it when I woke up. Not me, but fiance had dreamed that I cheated. She refused to talk to me for the rest of the day. When I was a kid, I dreamed I got a new toy train and then spent the better part of the next week tearing the house apart looking for it. My parents thought I was nuts. I've had 2 dreams like this. The first one, I was flying. Much like Superman would fly. It felt so amazing to be able to fly with just a thought and at nearly any speed too. The disappointment when I woke up hit me so hard that I literally started to tear up. The second dream was less intense. I dreamed that I had the Force. I don't really remember anything else except for confusion when I couldn't use the Force to turn off my alarm clock. The last couple of years before my grandfather died, he would have crazy dreams and awaken believing those things really happened. He essentially disowned my uncle because of a fight they had in one of his dreams. No amount of reasoning or proof could dissuade him from believing what he had dreamed. It was sad to watch a strong, smart man fall away into such a state. I was asleep in an old farmhouse that's a few hundred years old and dreamt of the place. I had no idea how it would have looked in the past, but it was all newer in a decor of time past, and there were these well-to-do ladies and some servants taking care of things for them. Then I sat and played with them, being only young at the time. Later the owner showed us some photos and it seemed to match almost exactly the dream. I don't know how I knew how it should have looked, etc, but yeah, a bit odd to say the least. Woke up. Went downstairs shouting tea as I always did. Then my mom would serve me some tea. Realized she had died a few weeks ago. I cried a lot. Then I woke up with tears. I was scared. Then I remembered my mom is alive and well. The amount of times I've completed something in a dream that's really boring, like finishing a piece of work, doing a job round the house. Sometimes it takes me hours to realize I haven't actually done it. I dreamed that could do the splits. Definitely disappointed when I woke up and it hurt like a mofo to even get close to doing them. When I went to bed, it was Tuesday. I dreamed that I woke up, had breakfast, went to school, had all my Wednesday classes, came home, did some homework and played some games, had dinner, and went to bed. Next morning I packed my bag for the Thursday classes. Teachers were not amused. Dreamt I was Tony Soprano's side chick. This was during season 1 back when it originally aired. It was a very intense dream. Woke up and felt all Twitter-pated and couldn't stop smiling. Took like 3 days to get over. I remember having a vivid dream that my parents had died. The dream and reality kind of blended together as I woke up, and at the end of the dream I was in bed sobbing to myself. Which is where my semi-conscious mind took over in reality. In my bed, sobbing. I sat there for a good 5 minutes feeling utter grief until my mind finally woke up enough to say, wait a second. That was a dream. It was a very strange feeling to realize the very real grief I felt was for a non-existent event. Just had this happen 2 nights ago. It's super boring, but I guess that's how realistic dreams often are. The dream took place in my bedroom and it was exactly my bedroom. Sometimes in dreams you think you're in one place but it looks somewhat different. But this was my bedroom to a T. So that alone made things extremely real. I looked up just above the window and saw part of the wall appearing as though it was peeling off, and then looked up and realized part of the roof blew off. I remember thinking that I need to call a roofer, and I literally woke up thinking the same thing. I almost reached for my phone before realizing it was a dream.